Hey everyone, it's Ashley, and today I am finally bringing you guys my top 14 books of 2014. I know this video is a bit late. I'm hoping that maybe you guys won't mind because you were pretty bombarded with all of them at the end of December, so I just waited a little while to give you mine. Also, I was at home and didn't have my books. Also, I couldn't decide on 14 books. You'll notice as this video goes on that I cheated a tiny bit. If I read an entire series in 2014, like first to last book, I included the series as one instead of as 3 or 4 or whatever. So there's more than 14 physical books, but only 14 worlds. It's cheating, but I don't think it's too bad of cheating, so let's move on. A few other things to note. I am not doing this in any kind of order. There is absolutely no way that I ever could have organized the books from my least favorite to my favorite. Picking just 14 was hard enough. And also, because this video is going to be pretty long as it stands, I'm not going to describe each book that I show you. I will tell you what I liked about it and why it's in my top 14, but if you want descriptions of the plot lines and what the story is really about, if I have any videos where I talk about them, I will leave them linked down below, and otherwise I will leave links to their Goodreads pages or book depository pages so that you guys can read the descriptions on your own, and all of that will just be in the description box down below. So let's get started! Again, these are in no particular order. I am literally just grabbing the books that are closest to me and then moving my way back to the book that is furthest from me. So first we have The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer. I actually read this extremely recently. I really liked it. It's not, well, I say that the books aren't in any particular order, and then the first book I choose, I'm going to tell you that it's not one of my tops. Nonetheless, it's not one of my all-time favorites from this year, but I did thoroughly enjoy it. I was in a bit of a reading rut when I picked this book up, and it really got me out of it, so for that I really have a special place in my heart for this book. I really liked the unreliable narrator aspect of this book, and I just really like the mystery. It doesn't read like a mystery novel, but there's this intense mystery the whole way through, and it really intrigued me, and I'm actually currently reading the second one. The next book in my top 14 of 2014 is Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. I actually read quite a few Colleen Hoover books in 2014. None of the other ones made my top 14, but definite honorable mentions go to Ugly Love and the Slammed series. I liked both of those thoroughly. I just liked this one a tiny bit more. I really liked the characters. I really liked just the world that she built in this contemporary new adult land. I really liked all of it. I liked the development. It was such a fast read. All of her reads are super fast reads. And I don't know, I just really liked it. I actually really want to do a review for this one so I can do spoilery talks for you guys. So maybe I will film that at some point in the near future. The next book on my top 14 of 2014 is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This is the first and only Patrick Ness book that I have read, which I know. I've heard from everyone and their mother that Patrick Ness is an amazing author, and I do believe them because this book, it was amazing. I just haven't gotten around to reading any of his other novels, but this book really hit close to home with me. I've gone through a lot of stuff that a lot of points in this book really kind of hit me with, and I mean, I just sobbed the whole time. This book is just amazing. The illustrations are phenomenal. The plot is phenomenal. The way it's written is phenomenal. I just highly, highly recommend this to anyone and everyone. The next book on my top 14 of 2014 is Everybody Sees the Ants by A.S. King. This is the third A.S. King book that I've read, and I can say without a doubt that A.S. King is by far one of my all-time favorite authors. I have liked every single one of the books that I have read by her, 5 out of 5 stars. This was one of the first books that I read in 2014, and I still remember it to a T now. And I read it about a year ago from today. And it's so good. It's magical realism at its finest. It has historical context. The main character is just so realistic and just so, relatable to, in a way that a lot of characters, I find a lot of authors try to make their characters relatable, but they fail in some kind of minor aspects, and A.S. King just does this really good job of making her characters flawed in a way that you're like, oh, they're flawed, but you know what? They're also just an amazing underdog that I want to root for the rest of my life. Just highly recommend A.S. King. If you've read her, comment down below and let me know what you think, because I just yes. Also, I just love this cover. The typography. Added bonus. The next book on my top 14 of 2014 is Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins. This is the first and only Rachel Hawkins book that I have read. I adored this book. This book is Buffy the Vampire Slayer mixed with Elle Woods from Legally Blonde with a Southern Belle twist. It is so good. I absolutely love this. The author even touches on the fact that it's like Buffy. Like, it's just like... The next book or graphic novel on my top 14 of 2014 is actually a series, and that is Saga. This is not in any kind of correct order right now, but nonetheless. I devoured this in 2014. I read the first 3 in like less than a week. The 4th one came out in the beginning of December, I think. I read it just before the end of the month, and it is so good. Oh, okay, if you are somebody who wants to get into graphic novels but isn't a huge comic book nerd yet, I highly, highly recommend starting with Saga. It's an epic story with an epic plot and just an epic setting and just everything. Just the writing, the images, oh, everything. Just so good. So good. Highly, 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 highly recommend. This is by far in probably my top 5 of 2014. Speaking of series that would be in my top 5 of 2014, The Lunar Chronicles, Cinder, Scarlet, and Cress. I don't even know what to say about these. I read them initially, I picked up Cinder initially because it was a book club pick for a book club that I run, and I thought that it was going to be one of those books that I wasn't going to like very much. Like, I read the back and I was like, this really isn't like my personal forte. But I devoured it. I think I read it in like less than 3 days, which is pretty unprecedented in my life. Generally speaking, it takes me about a week to read a book with all the other stuff going on. And I read all 3 of these in a week. That's how good they are. So good. So good. Fractured fairy tales at their absolute finest. If you have not read this yet, please go pick it up. Also, if you are a person who's on the go a lot, I listened to the audiobooks for these a lot during that week because I was on the go a lot, driving and such, and I was so obsessed with the stories that I just couldn't not know what was happening. And the person who reads the audiobooks for this series is actually really good at it. Like, sometimes I pick up an audiobook and I don't like the reader. This one has a really good reader, so if you are thinking about listening to an audiobook soon, I highly recommend this series. Next, in my top 14 of 2014, we have We Should Hang Out Sometime by Josh Sundquist. I got an advanced edition of this at BookCon, and let me tell you how my love for Josh has just kind of skyrocketed since reading this book. I mean, I loved his YouTube channel prior to reading this book, but this book just put the icing on the cake. So good. When I first started this, I'm not gonna lie, I just picked it up because I was like, oh, I watched his YouTube channel, he's funny, and I assumed it was just a fictional novel. And it wasn't until about like a third of the way through that I was like, why is he referring to his main character as himself? This doesn't seem normal. It's a biography that literally reads like a regular contemporary teen novel. It is so cute. And once you realize that it's a biography and Josh actually lived this life, you're just like, can I hug you for the rest of your life? It is now out in hardcover, and I could not recommend it highly enough. Please pick it up, and if you do pick it up, let me know in a comment or email me or something your thoughts, because I haven't really met a lot of people who have read this book, and I just want to discuss all the things with them all the time. The next book on my top 14 of 2014 is actually the first book that I read in 2014, which is kind of like poetic in a manner, and it's also a series, so I read book 1, 2, and 3 throughout the year, and it is The Anna and the French Kiss, Lola and the Boy Next Door, and Isla and the Happily Ever After contemporary series thing. It's kind of a series, it's kind of not. I'm including it as a series because I want to include all 3 books. This is just a wonderfully cute contemporary series. I would recommend reading them in order. People will tell you that you don't have to, but just trust me on this, read them in order. Anna, Lola, Isla. The next book on my top 14 of 2014 is To All the Boys I've Loved Before. This is just one of those wonderfully awesome contemporary novels. Cute plot, wonderful character development, excellent book boyfriends, and just so compulsively readable. I actually read this book in a day. I read it cover to cover. I got up to like eat, and that's pretty much it. I was up till like 5 a.m. reading this book. The next books on my top 14 of 2014 are a duology, and that is If I Stay and Where She Went by Gayle Forman. These books, I don't even know what to say. They just hit a close point to me. I absolutely loved both of them. I read them both very quickly, and they just really hit a chord inside my heart, and they will always hold a very special place for me, so I definitely could not avoid putting them in my top 14. And also, Gayle Forman's writing is actually just wonderful. I love the way that she develops characters, her writing style, just all of it. Love it. The next book on my top 14 of 2014 is a doozy. I read this book in a sitting. I actually don't even think I got up to eat while I was reading this book. I could not put it down. It was that compulsively readable. It's also a book that has gotten a lot of hype because people either love it or hate it. And I was definitely on the love side, and that is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I can understand why some people didn't like this book because it was kind of a mind trip. It's definitely an unreliable narrator, and it's just like, you don't know what's happening. And when people tell you that you should lie when people ask you what this book is about, you should, because it makes it so much better when you go into it knowing absolutely nothing. So if somebody tries to tell you what this book's about, don't let them. It is a wonderful, unreliable narrator contemporary novel. That's all you need to know. The next couple of books in my top 14 of 2014 are a series, and it should come as no shock to any of you because I talk about this series all the time on my channel, and that is the Lindburn Legacy by Sarah Rees Brennan, so Unspoken, Untold, and Unmade. I'm going to hold up Unspoken because it's my favorite cover, and I don't really like the cover change. I talk about this book all the time on my channel. If you follow me on YouTube or you've seen a ton of my other videos, you will know that my obsession with this book runs deep. I really loved it. There's so much witty banter. Like, honestly, I think the witty banter is 100% the reason why I love this book so much. The characters are great. The development of the characters is great. The totally kick-ass female main character, who is also girly, is amazing. And as a journalist myself, I just really loved the element of Cammie being so, like, investigative as a person. And I just highly, highly recommend this series. Absolutely loved it. If you haven't read it yet, please try it. And last, but certainly not least, this is definitely in my top 5 of 2014. I might go as far as to say it's in my top 2. I can never pick a top 1, but this book just, I cannot get enough of this book. I already want to reread it, and it was less than a year ago that I read it. And that is Winger by Andrew Smith. This book, I'm gonna start crying, and I'm okay. Okay, so I haven't done a review for this book yet because every time I film a review for this book, I cry, and I don't feel like showing you guys myself crying on camera, but I just loved this book that much. It is what a contemporary novel should aim to be. It is told from the perspective of a 14-year-old boy, and it sounds like a 14-year-old boy. There is, like, dirty male jokes. There is funny male jokes. There is an infatuation with an older girl. There's pretty much everything that you would imagine the mind of a 14-year-old boy would come up with in this book. And I am not a fan of YA authors who censor their readers because they think that they're not that intelligent. 14-year-old boys act this way. They feel this way. This is... Yes, this book is just so good. The characters are amazing. All the twists are amazing. Everything was amazing. I was so invested in what happened to these characters that I felt like they were real. And when I found out that there's going to be a sequel to this book, I was so ecstatic I cried. Like, sheer happiness tears. If you have not read this book, please try it. That being said, just so everybody knows, but actually about all the books in this video, if you read a book that I loved and you didn't like it, I want to hear your opinion about that. I do not judge people on whether they like or didn't like a book that I liked. I think opinions are opinions and you're allowed to have your own, and there's no such thing as a right or wrong opinion. It's just your opinion. And in my opinion, this book is freaking amazing. Okay, so normally at the end of a video I pick all of the books up and like hold them up for you, but there's too many and I'm not going to attempt that because I don't want to break them. So that's not the visual you probably want, but I showed you all of them throughout the video. I don't know. So those are my top 14 of 2014. If you guys made a top 10 or 14 books of 2014 video, leave it linked down below because I want to see it. I will leave links to all of the descriptions for all these books down below, and I will see you guys soon with another video. Happy reading! Bye!